guys? It's Ricky here with the very first hand of my very first poker vlog. I'm playing in the 1-3 no limit game at Northern Quest Casino in Spokane, Washington. I look down at 10-9 offsuit in middle position and open the action to $15. Only the player to my left makes the call, so we're heads up to a flop. Flop comes 10-3 deuce with 2 clubs. I make a standard continuation bet of $20 and my opponent folds without too much thought. It's always nice to start off a session with a pot being pushed your way.
Yeah.
Alright, in this next hand I get dealt the Doyle Brunson. 10 deuce offsuit in the big blind with a straddle to my left. It folds to me, so I decide, based on the straddler, to limp. There's nothing crazy about this hand, I just think it's important because knowing the tendencies of the people you're playing against is a huge advantage. We'll talk more about that later. The flop comes 10 high, so I take a pot-sized stab at it and my opponent quickly releases his hand. Talk about premium hands, I get dealt 6-4 clubs on the button. It limps to me and I open to $15. I try to justify this by telling myself that I'm in position, it's a suited gapper, and there were a couple of limpers ahead of me. I get 4 callers and we're going 5 ways to a flop of Jack 6-4 rainbow. This is a dream spot because it's not connected and it doesn't really touch my opening range very well. It checks around to me and I put a standard C bet of $20 into the pot of roughly 80. It's on the smaller side, but the only thing I could be behind is a set of 6s or a set of 4s realistically. Just like most good dreams though, they all end right when you're about to get to the good part. This hand was no exception, as all other 4 players fold one after another and I take down a $100 pot. Alright, now this is where it starts to get interesting. I open King 9 of clubs under the gun to my standard $15. I get 1 caller in middle position before the player across from me asks to see how much is in my stack. I lift my hands up, show him I've got about $250, and he decides to raise to $65. Now, it folds back around to me. King 9 probably should just be a fold here, but it's suited and I kind of want to mix it up. So I decide to call, and that actually entices the player behind me to call as well, oddly enough. The dealer burns and turns and the flop comes Queen 7-3 rainbow. About as dry as it gets, and I don't touch this flop at all. Playing in flow, it checks to the pre-flop 3-better, and he surprisingly checks it back. The turn comes the King of Diamonds. A great card for me, but I could still be behind with my 9 kicker. I check, planning to call a reasonably sized bet, and it checks around once again. Assuming I have the best hand after they both check it back again, the river comes the 9 of hearts giving me 2 pair. I decide to bet out $100 quickly to make it look like a bluff. This is when the guy in middle position thinks for a while and eventually raises to over $300, effectively covering me. Earlier I mentioned knowing who you're playing against is very important. I've played against this guy a few different times over the past few months and he's definitely not the bluffing type in my experience. It's also very rare to see a river re-raise bluff in low stakes live poker. It just doesn't happen. The only hands that he could have here that make sense are a set of 9s, Jack 10 for the nut straight, King 9, and we'd be chopping, or maybe, just maybe Queen 9. I doubt it though. You know, I'm going back and forth, it's a tough spot, it puts me all in. I decided to show him my hand to try to get some information out of him. I can't get a read on him, and he doesn't even flinch. I just can't see a time he's betting here and I'm ahead. I reluctantly make an exploitative tight fold and live to see another hand. In this next hand, I look down at ace-jack offsuit in the straddle facing an $18 open. I decide to just call, and we see a flop of jack-3 deuce with 2 diamonds. It's a great board for me. I check to set the trap, and he bets $25. I make the smooth call. The turn is the 6 of clubs, bringing in the backdoor flush draw. I check, planning to check raise, and it works out perfectly. He bets $75, and I raise all in for $230 effective.
I'm all in.
He quickly makes the call and says, "If you have a set, you're good." That is not a good sign for me. He flips over jack-6 offsuit for a turn 2 pair to put me out of my misery after a brick river card. And that is how my session ends.
Yeah.
Alright, yo, that's going to wrap it up for my very first poker vlog. Obviously, it didn't go as planned. I was in for 600 and I left empty-handed, but I'll be back next week with another video, and I appreciate you guys watching. Till next time.